Hello everybody and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the history and the lore of Enesia. Enesia is a world that I entirely created for the purpose of our D&D games. There is kind of a lot of stuff written about it, so I don't expect everyone to memorize everything. The world of Enesia is a relatively generic high fantasy setting, that's mainly based in medieval ideas and settings. The aesthetic does change at several points throughout the world. There ranges from the Empire of Tidana, which is a mainly elven empire, to the Kingdom of Mythsin, which is mainly dwarven, to many different places that span different aesthetics and ideas. The religion, or different types of religions that can be found throughout Enesia, span different pantheons. You'll find Greek pantheon, there's Roman pantheon, there will be Norse pantheon, and there's also quite a few D&D gods that are specifically written for D&D worlds. There will be many different references to, common mythologies, and there will be different things found throughout. The world does not stick to one pantheon. This is not everything. What I'm saying in this video and what will be written in the lore book that I will share with everyone is not every single town and village and city. There will always be more. There will always be more that you can find and go to in the game. What will be written about in the books and in this video are the important parts, the main kingdoms and empires. Anything that's, truly important to the way the world works. There's always more. For the timeline of the Enesia history, this timeline contains the global events, everything that you would learn in like a world history. Every place has smaller histories, and every place has smaller events that happen to it. Those can be found out in different ways, but here I'll be going over the main world history. To start off, we have the formation of both the Empire of Tidana and the Kingdom of Mythsin. These two are the oldest powers in the world of Enesia. They were formed pre-cataclysm. These two places were at odds for a very long time. They were at war with each other, constant fighting and battles between the two, and there was never a period of rest. Until the cataclysm happened. When the cataclysm happened, the lands started shifting and moving as earthquakes tore the lands apart, forming what the map looks like today. Because the way that the continents shifted and moved, the Empire of Tidana and the Kingdom of Mythsin ended up very far away from each other, and the conflict had circumstantially ended. They were pretty much done fighting. They couldn't reach each other. And with the end of that conflict, a new kingdom formed, the Kingdom of Westwall, which was located in between the Empire of Tidana and the Kingdom of Mythsin. After the Kingdom of Westwall secured itself as a new kingdom in the land, they decided to start trying for more power, and they started sending military occupation to different lands that were not associated with either Tidana or Mythsin. This military occupation led one land, the land of Ashla, to drive out the Westwall occupation and form their own government, which is now known as the Republic of Ashla. Inspired by the Republic of Ashla, the land of Corellan decided to also sever their connection to Westwall by driving out their occupying army. Very recently, the previous Grand Duchy of Westwall, Esterlin, decided to separate and solidify themselves as their own new kingdom. A threat of war currently hangs in the air around the world of Enesia, as Tidana and Westwall have allied themselves for a possible coming threat from Mythsin. Several tensions are high as people are trying to figure out where they stand when a war could possibly break out. Huge shout out to today's sponsor, Fantasy Name Generator. Fantasy Name Generator is a website where you can go and choose a topic from a wide variety of different topics, and the website will give you names that are based on the topic you chose. This website is very useful. Now we're going to talk about the lands and the places within Enesia, starting with the Barjarest. The Barjarest operates on a different type of political structure than will be mainly found in Enesia. The baronies and the towns within the Barjarest tend to usually keep to their own. They don't have a political leader with a title higher than a baron or a baroness. Additionally, the Barjarest doesn't typically associate themselves with places outside of the Barjarest. They tend to keep to themselves. They're slightly isolated through just an idea of peace. The Affenhouse region of the Barjarest is a place that is home to mainly air genasi. They spend many peaceful days foraging, collecting different mushrooms and flowers, and things like that. It's a very peaceful land. Not much happens here usually. They tend to stay in their own traditions, and nothing much changes. Similarly to the Affenhouse region, Oakenhold is a very quiet and peaceful town, with a large majority of its inhabitants being Earth Genasi, who tend to and protect the land. The Earth Genasi are typically kind, but they do keep to themselves, and outsiders are generally scary to them, especially people from fully outside of the Barjarest. Eldade is a quiet and isolated town. They have no known exports or alliances. A few from outside of the Barjarest can even recognize the name. Most people from within the Barjarest only know it because of the mystery around it. A few adventurers from the Barjarest have attempted to find the city and attempt to clear the air of mystery from around the place. However, none who have gone to find it have returned, so the town of Eldade is still unknown. Cair Clearwater is a moderately sized seaside town that is home to the Knights of the Culver House. The Knights of the Culver House have dedicated themselves to protecting people in need. The group is made up of mainly unexceptional fighters. However, some of the exceptional ones have gone on to become paladins, worshipping the goddess Justita. The Knights of the Culver House are not generally bothered by legality or any sort of formal rules. However, they do everything based on a very rigorous moral compass. In fact, to become a Knight of the Culver House, there is an entrance exam that is based on morality as well as an example fight. Cair Clearwater itself is a very peaceful city. Up next, we have Scylla. Scylla is the second largest continent on Enesia and is home to the Empire of Tidana. The Empire is one of the largest powers in Enesia and is the oldest. Scylla has many small towns and cities throughout, as well as some of the largest cities in the world. The lands of Scylla are very rich with natural magics, and through all parts of the continent, people have described the lands as being nearly alive. The castle of Tidana is a very old yet very beautiful building The palace itself was built pre-cataclysm. However, due to its age and natural deterioration, many portions of the palace have been rebuilt and are newer than the rest. The castle is a very busy place, with many guards who patrol around and ensure the prevention of crime. The people within the castle are very rich, and it's decently easy for petty thieves to get in and pickpocket some of the lords and ladies who walk around the castle. The Empire of Tadana is the richest power in Enesia. However, despite this, they are very weak in terms of military power. The empire seems to be only kept afloat by riches and by trade. The people in Tadana tend to stick to more druidic magic and draw upon the natural magic of the land. The Empress Talona of Tadana likes to keep a neutral poise, and when it comes to many issues, she tends to stay indifferent. However, with the growing tensions between Westwall and Mythsin, the Empire has decided to ally with Westwall. People of Elisphere do everything in their power to ensure the access of information and of knowledge. They provide this by easily accessible libraries and free admission to their main university. Elisphere is a very wealthy looking city. It's built on the shore and the cliffs that surround the river, separating Scylla from the Bargerist. Elisphere is additionally a very large port town, and majority of the trade between the Bargerist and Scylla goes through Elisphere first, before being distributed to the rest of the continent. Terra Sereno, or commonly just known as Sereno, is a very beautiful city run by the Countess Cytherea, who is a very well-known duelist. Sereno differs from the majority of the Empire due to the fact that they are mainly focused on science and alchemy instead of nature-based magic. The people of Sereno live in lavish homes built around trees. Flowers adorn nearly every room and building and are a main part of the architecture. Leaside is the largest fishing town in the Empire of Tadana. Leaside is a comparatively smaller town that lies along the mouth of the Ruby River into the Marian Sea. Many boats come in and out daily as trade happens very often in this town. Largely, Leaside sends their goods to a town called Fernando and a very nearby merchant hub, and it sells most of their goods there. Leaside also offers safe harbors to anyone who is traveling by. It's a sanctuary, a very safe town. Dolly is a relatively smaller, yet still very busy, city that lies on the edge of a cliff that overlooks the path below it. Dolly is a very welcoming place. It is a very lively city that has many inns and places for travelers to stay as they pass through. Musicians can be found in any pub, tavern, or even street corner, and many festivals are held in Dolly, as many merchants move to and fro in order to sell their goods. Dolly is also the place in which we're going to be starting our adventure. Lysera is a smaller landmass compared to the rest. During the Cataclysm, Lysera, similarly to Ashla, had broken off of the main continent of Scylla, creating its own continent, which have, in time, grown their own governmental systems nearly entirely separate from Tadana, although the places in Lysera are still technically under the Empire's rule. Veritas is a very large and lively city with very large Art Nouveau type buildings and people always moving to and fro. Veritas is very focused on honesty and truth and is home of what is known as the Chorus, who are essentially the Supreme Court of the Empire of Tadana. Because honesty is very important in this city, it's a well-known fact that there is a ritualistic Zone of Truth spell cast around the entire city, making it so everyone must be as honest as possible. Labid is a relatively smaller city, however, it is a large exporter of medicinal products. Labid is the major center of health, and it has academics for healing processes that are both magical or religious in nature, as well as physical sciences. Considering the differences between different types of healings, Labid focuses largely on holistic care, or care for the mind, and its architecture represents that. It's a very welcoming looking place with overgrown trees and a lot of natural materials incorporated into the architecture. The lands of Ashla are a very prominent farmlands. They're very peaceful people and tend to keep to their own. Due to the small size of their land, there's essentially no political structure, although they are technically a republic. Everyone just does their job, and the economy is trade or barter based. And when it comes to international affairs, the people of Ashla have elected 3 senators from each of the main towns. Ashla very much tends to keep to themselves, although with the possible war growing, Ashla refuses to support Westwall and threatens embargo. Kilvira is the largest farm of barley in the world. The whole town is focused solely on the production of it. The inhabitants of Kilvira are either farmers or people who directly support the farmers. Kilvira is seen as the capital of Ashla, even though there is no technical capital in the Republic. Kilvira has many festivals dedicated to the goddess Demeter to help ensure good harvest. Vitrine is a city that is fully encased in a greenhouse. Many of the inhabitants of Vitrine are nature-based, such as nymphs, dryads, naiads, and other such spirits. The city looks merely abandoned due to the overgrowth and abundance of vines, trees, and flowers. The city's main export is pipeweed. They grow many different variations and export to many different places, some of which include basically all of the Bargerist, Leaside, Fernando, and Graylin. Cair Corvus is the largest export of cranberries. Merchants from Cair Corvus can be found in almost any market of the world selling only cranberries. At first, it seems like it's just a bad business plan. However, the people of Cair Corvus can only grow cranberries. The common folktale is that the founders of Cair Corvus made a deal with the ravens who had previously inhabited the land, that in exchange for them to be able to live on the land, they would grow food for the ravens. The lands of Corellin are pretty independent lands. Everywhere in there has their own independent sovereignty, or they have made alliances with some of the smaller factions in the world of Enesia. Corellin tends to keep to themselves. They tend to just be on their own and stick to their own thing. However, when the tensions of war started rising, uh, Karelen has started to amass their own troops and army, just in case. Beland is a land of hunters. The people of Beland keep themselves and provide for themselves. Everything that they need, they get through their own means. They don't trade with anyone. They do trade with one land called Hythe, but their reason for trading with Hythe is for religious purposes. The people of Beland worship the goddess Artemis of the hunt, and they have many festivals and offerings for her as their matron. Esterlin used to be one of the largest cities in the Kingdom of Westwall. However, very recently, Esterlin established itself as its own kingdom, severing its connection to Westwall. Esterlin is a very pristine and beautiful city that is connected to another city, Greylin, by a series of bridges between the two lands. Esterlin is run by two sisters, Cordelia and Atropa Dias, who both hold the title of Princess of Esterlin. They often throw lavish parties, and they are incredibly focused on the study of places in between life and death. Esterlin tends to focus more on the lower planes and the places closer to death. Meria is the home of the Kingdom of Westwall. Meria is directly in the middle of the continents of Scylla and Duria, and the mere presence of Meria has stopped the war between Tidana and Mithsin for a good amount of time. Meria has several small towns and small little cities throughout it, mainly traveling towns or some port towns that are pretty prominent in the continent. Greylin used to be one of the oldest grand duchies in the Westwall Kingdom. However, when Esterlin severed themselves from Westwall, Greylin followed, becoming the only grand duchy in Esterlin. Greylin is far less pristine than Esterlin is, and their architecture is more Tudor style, rather than the Art Nouveau of Esterlin. Greylin is run by the Grand Duke and Duchess, Marcus and Abigail Schuyler. They are very well liked among the people and very well respected amongst other nobility. Marcus and Abigail spend a good amount of their time studying the upper planes and the more celestial realms. The Kingdom of Westwall is very well known for their white brick walls and their uniform red roofs. The kingdom specializes in art and literacy. It is a home for many sculptors, artists, and poets, and it has extensive libraries and museums. The Queen of Westwall, Catherine Regina Elise, or just Queen Elise, keeps the peace of Westwall with her hand-picked guards that she calls the Rose Guards. The Rose Guards are very well-trained knights that all come from noble backgrounds. They are seen in all white armor with a silk red sash over their chest plates. They carry very decorative halberds and weapons, and they ride horses who are also adorned with white armor. The Kingdom of Westwall is does not like their neighboring city, the town of Fernando. They see the people of Fernando as wild and untamed and very rebellious. Fernando is a port city that is just outside of the Kingdom of Westwall. Fernando is known for its huge ports, busy streets, and vibrant ambiance. Due to the heavy traffic that comes to Fernando from all over the realm, Fernando became a melting pot of different kinds of travelers, adventurers, merchants, and criminals. Right off of the ports is the biggest market in the land of Maria. Everything from weapons to spices can be found from different merchants with their colorful venues pitched along the road. Deeper in the city is the much more residential area, filled with taverns, inns, brothels, and homes. A large stone path leads from the port all the way to the gates of the castle of Westwall. Although Fernando does not have its own law enforcement, it does technically fall under the jurisdiction of the Kingdom of Westwall. So there are guards and patrols that go through Fernando, done by the Rose Guards. The people of Fernando hold festivals for nearly everything. There is never a dull day in the city of Fernando, and everything will be celebrated. The continent of Duria is the largest continent on Enesia and is home to the Kingdom of Mythsin. The Kingdom of Mythsin is mainly focused on mining and forging and creating items. This is largely due to the fact that the Durian Mountains they hold the largest deposits of most materials and metals in the world. Also due to this, Duria is home to some of the most important forging cities. Many weaponsmiths and forgers come to Duria to prove their worth and make a living with their trade. Latima is a Gothic Victorian style steampunk city, with its residents rushing about on cobblestone roads, getting from here to there. Latima's population, while diverse, is mainly human, which is relatively strange for a place within the Kingdom of Mythsin, which is a mainly dwarven kingdom. Latima is the industrial capital of Enesia, with all the best and most prolific craftsmen and engineers making their home in Latima. There's always something new being built just across the street. Hythe is the central religious grounds within Mythsin, with towering statues of various gods and deities, and plenty of room and board for religious worshippers as well as refugees. Hythe accepts everyone so long as they worship a deity. For those who are godless and do not worship any specific deities, the people of Hythe try to find them a god that fits with them, taking the people to various worships and sermons of various gods until they find one that the people will worship. Silverkeep is a very large and protected fortress. It used to be the capital of the Kingdom of Mythsin before the center was built. Silverkeep is where Mythsin's soldiers train, and the keep is one of the most fortified cities in the kingdom. Silverkeep alone houses more soldiers than the entirety of the Empire of Tidana. This alone causes a lot of stress for the other kingdoms. The fortress is built on top of a mountain, with large walls preventing other invaders from entering. Manil is home of the largest mine system in Duria. Manil is the largest exporter of minerals and ores. Most of the exports go to Latima for the metalworkers to have supplies. However, any precious gems that are found within the mine are sent to Hythe for various religious practices. Manil is the largest supplier of these metals, which are then sent to Latima, which get forged into various weapons that are sent to Silverkeep for the soldiers to train and use. The Solaris Isles are a collection of islands that are separate from the rest of the world of Enesia. The political structure of the Solaris Isles is vastly different from the rest of Enesia. The political structure of the Isles is separated by factions, and no faction is official or recognized by any of the more formal countries, and none of the factions are permanent either. Constant conflict between the factions caused the main power of Solaris to change very often. In reality, most of the factions are equal in power, with the few exceptions of the newer factions. Mendota is one of the richest factions of Solaris, due in large part to the fact that they are very closely associated with the Empire of Tidana. Tidana allows trade to happen between themselves and Mendota, making this faction very rich within the Isles, and causing Mendota to have a very strong yet unorganized military. They are pirates, after all. Calusa is very similar to Mendota. They have brokered an alliance with Westwall, granting them free passage through Marian waters and trade between the two. Calusa's land doesn't have all that much to offer, so a majority of what they trade consists of stolen items, stolen from either other factions of Solaris or from other kingdoms within the rest of the world. The pirates of Calusa tend to use more magic than the rest of the pirates do, using magic to conceal their movements and help them with stealth. Eknar is run by Isaac Ash, who is a very young man who really does not know what he's doing. Eknar is one of the newer factions in Solaris, and as such, they're trying to gain power and respect from the other factions. Eknar doesn't have any allies outside of Solaris, and it has very few allies from even within the Isles. They're really not doing all that great at gaining respect, but they're working on it. Nolani is run by Jean-Marie Ash, the sister of Isaac Ash, who is the leader of Eknar. Nolani was formed at the same time as Eknar. However, Nolani has become much more successful for reasons no one truly knows. Nolani is a city that is built on stone pillars that tower over the seas. Homes and buildings were built in and around the pillars, and due to the unusual terrain, it is very difficult to sail near and around the city of Nolani. Kazemi has the strongest fighting force in the Isles. Kazemi is in constant war within Solaris, and the constant fighting and unrest has left the land barren and burned. Kazemi is the most violent faction, and in true pirate fashion, nearly all of their riches comes from thievery and looting. The leader of Kazemi, Althea Eulis, is a very righteous fighter who came to be leader after the death of her sister. And Althea is working to restore the name of Kazemi and bring an end to the constant conflict. Unfortunately for her, many people within Kazemi do not wish to see her succeed. Rodine is very far from the rest of the Solaris Isles, and is much closer to Duria and the Kingdom of Mythsin. Due to this, Rodine typically works with Mythsin in many different capacities, helping with trade routes, gathering materials, mild espionage, and tax collecting. In exchange for this, Mythsin provides Rodine with food, board, and materials for anything they should need, such as weapons, ships, or anything of that nature. There is, of course, much more than what this video covered. However, the main purpose of this video was, again, to get a general understanding of the world, as well as some of the dynamics between different places. There is much, much more, and what else is there you have to figure out by playing the game.